Good Sunday morning, everybody, and welcome to WGN-TV Political Report. I'm Paul Lisnick. We begin this morning here in Illinois, where the buzz around the state's SAFE-T Act is growing to a fever pitch and could end up in court. The 800-page criminal justice package offers and covers a lot of ground, requiring body cams for police training and more, but there's just one piece that's garnering the most attention. Illinois will become the first state in the nation to entirely eliminate its cash bail system. Now, we covered the bill when it first passed over a year ago, but that provision is slated to go into effect on January 1st. And since it's an election year, well, critics are starting to raise their issues now. Starting next year, defendants can only be detained while awaiting trial if they're charged with certain kinds of felonies, not how much money they have in their pockets. Prosecutors also have to prove a defendant is a flight risk or poses a specific threat. But those same prosecutors complain the plan will tie their hands in being able to detain people accused of a long list of other serious crimes. The bill's sponsors, they say that's just not true.
We are finally having these important, critical conversations and discussions that are necessary to reimagine our status quo. Our state, our nation is feeling uncomfortable. Let me let you in on a little secret. When you're talking about change and transformation, it's not meant to be comfortable. We're tackling the most challenging racial and social justice challenges of our time.
Now, this week, Governor Pritzker admitted the bill needs some changes. Lawmakers are scheduled to gather in Springfield for the fall veto session. That starts November 15th. Now, I spoke with House Republican leader Jim Durkin, a former prosecutor himself, by the way, about the firestorm surrounding the legislation. People need to understand the SAFE-T Act because it's certainly clear on the agenda. And let me just ask you, it's a common talking point that you hear that on January 1st, the murderers, the rapists, the kidnappers, the jail doors are open and out they come on the streets. Can you clarify?
Sure. We begin a no cash bail system starting January 1st, but there are exceptions for cases which are forcible felonies by statute, ones which are also non-probationable. In those situations, the state's attorney has to voluntarily ask for a detention hearing. It's not mandatory, but the state's attorney will have to ask for a detention hearing on those cases that meet those two prongs, forcible felony and also non-probationable. The cases which will not be subject to the bail hearing that we traditionally have that are excluded are ones, I'll give the example. The case of robbery, which is a forcible felony by statute, but it is a probationable offense. So therefore, it will not qualify for a detention hearing. A burglary, which is by statute, a forcible felony, but it is a probationable offense. Kidnapping, it is a forcible felony, but it is a class 2 probationable offense. Distribution, trafficking of heroin or fentanyl. Those are non-probationable, but they are not forcible felonies. None of those will be, there's no discretion. Those individuals who are charged will have to be released on their recognizance.
So just to clarify, and you're a former prosecutor, so this is certainly your world.
Right.
Is it not true that for pretty much any offense, there's some conditions, some standards by which a prosecutor, like you in a former life, could request a hearing and ask for somebody to be detained based on, it puts the burden on the prosecutor, but is that not true?
That's not true. Starting January 1st, it's not true. You can only do this in, as I said, those very narrowly defined cases where murder, sexual assault, treason. Treason is one of them. That's a forcible felony. I don't know whether it's non-probationable or not, but the fact is a number of those cases, the serious ones that we often talk about, the first-degree murder, attempt murder, sexual assault, those would be subject to a detention hearing if Kim Foxx chooses to have one. It is not mandatory. The state's attorney has to make an application to the court. But for other serious cases, which I mentioned, robbery, burglary, arson, second-degree murder, those are all probationable offenses. Therefore, they would not qualify for, the state's attorney would not have the ability to seek a detention hearing on any of those cases, period.
So the theory behind the Safety Act is that it's been based on money, right? If you've got the dough, you can get out. And the theory is there's a lot of people on low offenses who are stuck in prison for, jail for 6 months because they don't have any money to get out.
False narrative. It just doesn't happen anymore. People they're not sitting in Cook County Jail languishing. Class 4 addicts, the pickpockets, the prostitutes, the jail is at about 60% capacity. So that whole argument is long gone.
So the theory behind the act, and you know that Chris Christie, Republican, New Jersey, he did something like this, not quite as the extent of Illinois, but he did it. Places in Texas that cover Houston, they're doing this. Is there a place, in your view, as Republican leader, for a version of the Safety Act with some modifications to it?
Absolutely. But you know what? I haven't been asked. And the thing is, the Democrats slapped this together and they did their high fives after this was passed in a lame duck session a year and a half ago. Now they're knowing that this is becoming an issue because people are starting to take notice. And this is going to go into effect in January 1st, where you're going to have a serious situation regarding public safety in Illinois. I mentioned the whole issue of non-cash bail, but starting January 1st, a defendant will now have the ability to compel a victim, a complaining witness, to testify at a detention hearing without any restriction to their age or the crime. It's very concerning, particularly for domestic violence victims or sexual assault victims who within 72 hours after a crime occurred, they're going to have to be subject to a defendant's order to appear at a bond hearing. For what reason? Nothing. No good reason other than to intimidate that victim.
So you had mentioned that no one's asking you for your suggested changes. There is a veto session coming up. It's after elections, but there's a veto session coming up in Springfield. So can you spell out, certainly for viewers, what changes, assuming somebody eventually asks you, what changes would you and fellow Republicans want to see to the Safety Act to make this work?
Start over. And if they want to include myself and Pat Windhorst, we both are experienced prosecutors. I am for fairness. I was the Illinois Innocence Project Legislator of the Year last year for my work on some very serious issues. I believe in fairness, but I also want to make sure that we're doing things the right way. We can get this done. The Democrats slapped us together in a few minutes back in a year and a half ago. If they want to work with us in any time after the election, we're going to go into another lame duck session in January. I'm open to working with them as long as they take my thoughts and considerations. Look, I can see situations where whether it's a class 3 or class 4 felony that there shouldn't be any type of, we can actually work to make sure that these cases are not ones that people are going to sit, which I still believe don't happen, but we can make adjustments. Clearly we can do that.
I just want to clarify one thing. The governor's campaign has said there is no such thing as a non-detainable offense, that any offender could be detained due to flight risk, repeat offender, or there's no such thing as anyway, let me leave it there. So there is confusion. Is the governor wrong or?
Yes, he's dead wrong. I sat with him after this thing was passed and I went through every section of the bill. He just stared at me and just, said he'd take my thoughts in consideration, but he's absolutely wrong. Non-detainable offenses are robbery, they are burglary, they are arson, second-degree murder, kidnapping, involuntary manslaughter, reckless homicide. Those are non-detainable offenses. They cannot be subject to a detention order. The governor is wrong. The governor can talk about his business aspects, but the fact is, I'll gladly talk to the governor in a public forum about this aspect of criminal justice reform on any day, but he is absolutely wrong, and so is his office.
All right, House Republican leader, Minority Leader Jim Durkin, thanks for being with me. Obviously, this is an issue of importance for a lot of people, and we're going to need some clarification.
Now let's get the Bears over the finish line tonight, okay?
Right, you got it.
All right,
thank you, Mr. Leader. Appreciate your time.
You bet. Thank you.